Alright, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from StreetScores, and we have three main topics to discuss in this video, man. We have to talk about how Laramie Tunsil is already a strong candidate to be one of the protectors of the year. First of all, we got to dive into what that even is. The NFL just came up with a new award. I'm super excited about it. I feel like offensive line deserved this a long time ago. Also, an AI predicts that the Washington Commanders will end up with the #1 seed in the NFC. We're going to dive into all of that and a lot of the different record predictions out there from different experts and websites. And then also, lastly, and there's a reason we're going to address this last. This is not like the headline or anything like that. Washington is again linked to Jalen Ramsey, but this time by another reporter. It seems to be a lot of different people linking us to Jalen Ramsey. Is there anything to this or not? I have a trivia question for you. I will give you the answer at the end of the video. In 1943, what Washington Pro Football Hall of Fame star was the first of the 19 different players entering 2023 who share the NFL record of 4 interceptions in a game? I'm going to give you the answer to that at the end of the video. If you already know that one, that's elite ball knowledge. I don't even know it yet. I got to flip it upside down to see. But before we get into everything, make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this. So make sure you stay tuned to all of the content. And now, you know, maybe by Wednesday, my days will be a little less busy. So I'm going to try to get back to like not only just a 1 video a day, but also multiple a day when I get to those film sessions and all of the videos I've been promising y'all and all of that type of stuff. So stay tuned. Without further ado, let's go dive into the video right now, man. Let's get it. Adam. All right, so for the first time in NFL history, and this should have been happened ever since we've had an MVP award, an Offensive Player of the Year award, a Defensive Player of the Year award, we should have been come up with this one because offensive linemen is just so difficult for them to win any type of award in those factors. I mean, I don't know how dominant of an offensive lineman could you even possibly be to win MVP over a quarterback, to win Offensive Player of the Year award over an elite wide receiver or a ridiculous season that a running back has that you blocked for. Like that running back had that season mostly because of you. But either way, the league announced back on Wednesday that it will add an annual Protector of the Year award to its end of year ballot. So again, you have like Offensive Rookie of the Year, Jaden Daniels, Defensive Rookie of the Year, hopefully Trey Amos coming up, you know what I'm saying? Then you have Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, and MVP, all of that type of stuff. Now add the best offensive lineman in the NFL. I love this so much. I'm so happy that these guys are finally getting the credit that they deserve. Again, I feel like this should have been, as soon as we came up with an MVP award and Offensive Player of the Year award and things like that, we should have just went ahead and did this because they should have had the foresight that it's going to be really hard. I mean, offensive linemen don't really put up stats for real. I mean, you can look at their advanced stats, but anytime you notice an offensive lineman is even on the field, more times than not, it's for a bad reason. You know, you don't want to hear your offensive lineman's name called at any point in the game. It's usually because of a penalty that they caused, or they allowed a sack, or got obliterated and the running back ended up getting tackled behind the line of scrimmage for a tackle for loss because of the offensive lineman losing his battle against a defensive lineman, or missing on a stunt or a twist or whatever. And so I just feel like this is the only way for these guys to even receive even somewhat of the credit that they still deserve, because I'm not even sure if this is enough. I mean, I feel like you may even need to go as far as the top tackle, the best guard, the best center, but that's just me. I'm a trenches guy. Defensive line is my favorite part of football. Right behind that, it may be offensive line. So I've been always screaming these guys deserve more credit because the running backs and the quarterbacks don't have the seasons they have without the offensive lineman in front of them. Now, granted, though, it's a little weird because, you know, it takes 5 of them. You could have the best offensive lineman in the entire NFL on your offensive line, and your offensive line can still be trash if the other 4 aren't good. You're better off having 5 above average guys than to have the best offensive lineman in football and then the 4 guys around them be like a little so decent. So it's a weird thing where you could be a dominant offensive lineman and it may not even necessarily matter. You could still be a part of a terrible offense. But then again, we just saw Trey Hendrickson lead the NFL in sacks twice, 2 years in a row, and he's still on a terrible defense. So yeah, it's a team sport. Everything takes a team, but people deserve the credit, and offensive linemen have been overlooked far too long. And so the award will, of course, go to the league's top offensive linemen in any effort to recognize the league's big men who are integral to the success of every NFL team. And again, just to let you know, this is for any offensive lineman. There's only one offensive lineman that's going to win this award every year from now on. So it's between the tackles, guards, and centers all in one pile. Only one can win. It's not separated by position. And the winner will be decided by a panel that includes a number of former offensive line greats. I love that. So it's for them and by them. You know what I'm saying? So I absolutely love that. You have offensive linemen even picking the best offensive lineman in football rather than just some random experts, experts with quotations, random analysts, TV personalities, podcasters, and things like that. You have guys that actually know the positions very well. Ins and outs, have been there, done that, know the grind, know everything that it takes, knows like exactly what to look for when judging these guys, not just solely relying on Pro Football Focus grades or random stats that are thrown out there. These guys will watch the tape and know, and even though he statistically gave up a sack here, that actually wasn't his fault. That was really the quarterback walking into that sack. Like things like that, they'll do a better job, I feel like, than just these random experts that are out there that do these things, again, like Pro Football Focus and stuff like that. So I love the fact that it's going to be done by them. That's perfect. Also, NFL Executive Vice President of Football Operations Troy Vincent gave credit to Buffalo Bills left tackle Dion Dawkins and retired defensive tackle Andrew Whitworth for pushing for the creation of the award. Dawkins wrote that, quote, "History was made today," and thanked everyone involved, unquote, with the tweet that he put out. And man, shouts out to him, shouts out everybody that was involved, Dion Dawkins, Andrew Whitworth, and anybody else who had anything to do with the fact that this award even happened. But most importantly, specifically for the Commanders, of course, with anything that is new in the league, the NFL analysts and insiders are already giving us an early peek at some of the players we might see in the inaugural ballot at the end of the 2025 season. One of those players is, of course, Washington Commanders offensive tackle Laremy Tunsil. We're here to talk about this because he's one of them ones. Just in case if you somehow forgot, or maybe for some reason you didn't realize that the Washington Commanders traded for one of them ones. In the NFL, regardless of position, Laremy Tunsil is one of the best players in the entire NFL, but especially offensive line wise, he's near the top. Because Cody Benjamin of CBS Sports did an article already. As soon as this award was announced, he did an article. The top 2025 candidates include Eagles, 49ers, and Lion Stars. He didn't mention the Commanders, but you'll see. We'll get there. You'll be pretty happy with where Laremy Tunsil is ranked. So for honorable mentions, he has Cam Jurgens of the Eagles, Creed Humphrey of the Chiefs, Joe Alt of the Chargers, Joe Tooney of the Bears, Tristan Wirfs of the Buccaneers, and Tyler Smith of the Cowboys. Then after that, he has Penei Sewell as his fifth highest candidate, and then immediately after that is Laremy Tunsil at fourth. He feels like Laremy Tunsil right now, that we haven't even gotten to training camp yet, but he feels like as of right now, Laremy Tunsil has the fourth best chance of winning this award, which basically in his eyes, Laremy Tunsil is the fourth best offensive lineman in all of football. Not tackle, not left tackle specifically, offensive lineman, period. Both tackle positions, both guard positions, and center. Laremy Tunsil number 4, only behind Dion Dawkins 3, who played a large role in this becoming even an award, and he's a great tackle in his own right. Trent Williams number 2, and then of course Lane Johnson of the Eagles number 1. For Laremy Tunsil, he said Tunsil has been more mercurial than some of the NFL's most respected left tackles. It's one reason he's already been traded twice in his career, relocating from a messy Houston Texans front to Washington, where the slippery Jaden Daniels is now his quarterback, could shoot his stock to the moon. This is already a guy that's gone to the Pro Bowl, I believe, every year that he's been with the Texans since he got traded there a few years ago. And then they're saying that he's potentially going to be even better for Washington than he even was for the Texans now that his quarterback is more mobile. I would also add to the fact that he's going to be better because the offensive linemen next to him are better. The Houston Texans offensive line was awful last year, even with them on it. He was like the one lone bright spot, but it was still over. It's a team unit. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter how great you can have a Hall of Fame left tackle, but if the rest of the offensive line is trash, especially that left guard next to him, it's not going to matter. They're going to be put in bad positions. They're going to try to overcompensate for the guy that's not doing their part next to them. And then now they're playing out of their element. They're not playing as well as they naturally would. And just to remind you, this is potentially, according to Cody Benjamin, a top 4 offensive lineman in the entire NFL. And you gotta remember, we didn't even give up a first-round pick for this guy. We got Laramie Tunsil and a 2025 4th-round pick, which we ended up using to draft Jalen Lane, who's going to be a big part of our offense and this future, and the reason why Jaden Daniels is not going to have a sophomore slump, and he's going to become the face of the NFL and win Super Bowl after Super Bowl. But either way, we got Laramie Tunsil and technically Jalen Lane, if you want to put it this way, in exchange for a 2025 3rd-round pick and 7th-round pick, and then a 2026 2nd-round pick and a 4th-round pick in that same draft. Again, it's a lot of value, but we still didn't have to give up a single 1st-round pick, and you're getting a top 4 offensive lineman in the entire NFL. And then you also went and drafted the Abdul Carter eraser and Josh Connolly late in the 1st round. I mean, Jaden is about to play behind the best offensive line he's ever had in his life. And I'm hoping that we get to the point, like towards the end of the season, when we're starting to talk about different candidates of who's the top leaders for potentially winning this award. I'm hoping that we have like multiple Commanders players in that group. Remember, our right guard Samuel Cosmi is already a Pro Bowler. Some people forget, but our starting center Tyler Biadasz is a Pro Bowler as well, back in 2022, I believe. And then I truly believe that Brandon Coleman has the chance to be an elite guard, a potential Pro Bowler. And then you have Laramie Tunsil, who we just talked about, and Josh Connolly briefly, who we just talked about, as your bookend tackles. I really think that this will be like a top 5 offensive line in the NFL this year. I'm very confident in that, and I'm super excited to see it become a thing, man. I mean, we may hit the ground running week 1 already having a really good offensive line. It all depends on Josh Connolly's transition from left tackle to right tackle, because, I mean, you have to literally mirror everything. Like, you have to completely reverse everything to a 180. Instead of doing things to your left, now you do those things to your right. And that's not an easy transition, let alone going from college to the NFL. So I'm not expecting him to just go out there and look like a Pro Bowler immediately week 1. But we'll see in training camp and preseason what he's looking like. But guys like Laramie Tunsil, we'll see about Brandon Coleman going from left tackle to left guard. But he played more left guard, especially towards the end of his college years at TCU. So that'll probably be a natural transition for him. Tyler Biadasz, top 5, top 7 center, former Pro Bowler as well. Samuel Cosmi, we'll see when he can get healthy. But when in doubt, Nick Allegretti, Andrew Wiley, Nate Herbig, your pick for starting right guard. I think we'll be ready to go week 1 and right out the gate. But I think definitely by the end of the season, we will have a top 5 offensive line when it matters most for a real playoff push trying to make it to the Super Bowl. And then also, speaking of some random things that came out of the like owners meetings and league meetings and things like that, of course, the tush push was not banned. We already talked about that in another video. But Roger Goodell also said that there were discussions about a potential CBA issue with the NFLPA, including costs and salary cap matters. So maybe there'll be some tweaks there. There were talks. Nothing happened, but some talks happened. And then also, just to let you know, there was no discussion about a potential 18-game season. So it's not going to happen anytime soon if it does ever happen. And then now also moving on, shouts out to NFL Game Day. I don't know what AI they use, but it sounds like they used the right one. Because as you can see on the screen, man, an AI predicted the 2025-2026 NFL season playoff teams. On the AFC side, you have the Bills, the number 1 seed. Of course, you have the Chiefs as the number 2. The Bengals 3. Interesting, winning the NFC North. And then you have the Jaguars 4th, winning the NFC South over the even the Texans. I can see the Colts. You know what I'm saying? I can definitely see the Titans. The Colts got Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones is a quarterback battle right now. And I'm not even that big of a Cam Ward fan, but I mean, he's about to get done dirty with the offensive line and the weapons he has. So I can see that. And I know the Texans, terrible offensive line, only got worse with the fact that they traded us, Laramie Tunsil, from that offensive line. But they think that the Jaguars are ready to go ahead and win that division. That's interesting. And then next up, you have the Ravens as the 5th seed. More than likely would have a better record than the Jaguars. But the Jaguars, just like the NFC South, the AFC South, they're both divisions where somebody got to win that division. So we'll see what happens. Then the Chargers, my boy Ladd over there, 6th seed. And then the Broncos, the 7th seed, with arguably, on paper at least, the best defense in the NFL. So that will be because Bo Nix is just not ready to be a really good quarterback. The only reason that the Broncos should ever fall to a 7th seed. I'm thinking they may even have a strong chance to compete for their division against the Chiefs, but we'll see. Then on the NFC side, we can work our way from the down up and save the best for last. Last seed, you have the Rams not winning their division, which is interesting. They lose their division to the Cardinals. I'm nowhere near as high on the Cardinals, but hey, the AI has spoken. By the fact that you see the Commanders as the number 1 seed, I'm gonna believe, Cardinals go win your division. Make sure all of this happens. We got to make sure everything everything that is included in this AI prediction takes place so that we can get that number 1 seed. Hey, if the Cardinals got to win their division for the Commanders to get the number 1 seed, then so be it. But either way, the Bears are the 6th seed, then the Eagles are the 5th seed, and then somebody got to win the NFC South. The Falcons do seem to be the most talented team, at least on paper. That makes sense. Cardinals winning the 3rd seed, weird, but hey, if the Cardinals, butterfly effect, domino effect, whatever, Cardinals winning their division leads to the Commanders being the number 1 seed, let's do it. Packers number 2 seed, even though I think I don't know, that's tough, man. The Vikings are tough. I think the Lions will fall back a little bit, but I mean, completely to completely miss the playoffs. I know they lost Ben Johnson, they lost their defensive coordinator to become the Jets head coach, but man, they have 2 teams in the playoffs, and neither of them are the Lions. And the Vikings, didn't they just win like 14 games last season? But yeah, I mean, they lost Sam Darnold, but I'm not sure Sam Darnold was that good to where they're just going to fall off the face of the earth. But either way, most importantly, the Commanders, as you can see, are the number 1 seed, and rightfully so, man. Hey, it looks like this AI getting smarter out here, man, and more accurate. I don't know what AI software they use, what programming went into that, but it's the best one we got. I need to use that AI to do, whatever, anything I need to do, because that AI knows what it's talking about. That's a smart AI right there. Either way, moving on, shouts out to Neil Greenberg. He tweeted that the Commanders are favored in 12 games this season according to Better Lines, released by DK. If it stands, that's the most games Washington has been the favorite in a season since 2000, when we were favored for 14 of them, which is crazy. And now you're probably asking what happened. Well, shouts out to Grant Paulson, because in 2000, Washington was coming off of a season with the number 2 offense in the NFL, 10 wins, a division title, and a blown 13-point lead in the second round of the playoffs. So I guess betting lines and just in general, the NFL felt like, okay, that was somewhat fluky. They were a better team than what they showed by the time they lost in the playoffs. So maybe next year they're going to come back with a vengeance and be even better. And they had just spent $100 million in free agency after that as well. After making it to the second round of the playoffs and blowing a 13-point lead, they spent $100 million in free agency. But then they ended up going 8-8. North Turner got fired, and shouts out to Grant Paulson because he brings up a good point. I bet that North Turner wishes that Jaden Daniels was playing on that team in 2000, because they probably wouldn't have gone out like that. And then also moving on, shouts out to Around the NFL. You have the win total projections by Cynthia Freeland. We'll get there soon. But they have Washington as the number 2 NFC team with 10.2 victories. Cynthia Freeland did an entire article, NFL schedule, each NFC team's win total projection for the 2025 season. The Eagles are number 1 with 11 wins, which I can't argue against. I mean, not only did they win the Super Bowl, but they were dominant. Now, granted, I think they have taken a step back roster-wise, especially in that secondary. They lost a lot of important pieces. Milton Williams went to the Patriots. They lost a lot of guys. Chauncey Gardner, all of them guys. It's a little ugly for them, but they're still a dominant team. They still have all of my Georgia Bulldogs. So I don't think they're going to be anywhere near as dominant, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to still be one of the best teams in the entire NFL, let alone the NFC. But then the Commanders are second with 10.2. They said win total over the 9.5 line, make the playoffs minus 140, to win the division plus 225, to win the conference plus 900, and to win the Super Bowl plus 1800 odds right now. She also said through week 7, the Commanders are forecasted to be atop the NFC East. At that point, they will reach what could be a major turning point for their season, a Monday Night Football game in Kansas City Chiefs in week 8, followed by back-to-back home contests against the Seahawks and the Lions. Washington can secure its best chance of outlasting the Eagles in the division by winning 2 of those last 3 games. In other words, the Commanders can really set themselves up well ahead of their Week 11 game against Miami and Madrid, Spain. That's a good point. I like that analysis of our schedule, man. Before we get to Madrid, we better win as many games as possible so that we are ready to go and rocking on that late playoff push and to try to win that division. But then you have Bleacher Report. They believe that the Commanders will actually take a step back in 2025, so they feel like we'll repeat history from that 2000 season and then North Turner ended up getting fired. Because, of course, our 2024 record was 12-5. They said the Commanders made the biggest leap between 2023 and 2024, considering their playoff run to the NFC Championship game. Quarterback Jaden Daniels won the 2024 Offensive Rookie of the Year award in a season of spectacular plays and late-game heroics. With a stronger supporting cast, Daniels will continue to ascend as one of the league's top young quarterbacks. max. Okay, all sounds good so far. So why are they thinking that we're going to potentially take a step back? Washington strengthened this pass protection, acquiring 5-time Pro Bowl left tackle Laramie Tunsil from the Texans and taking offensive tackle Josh Connolly in the first round of the draft, though the latter has to transition from the left side to the right side of the line, like I've already discussed as well. Deebo Samuel will be the Commanders' X factor this season. Offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury can get creative with Samuel's versatile skill set, lining them up out wide and in the backfield, or maybe even the slot occasionally. While the Commanders' offense looks better than last year's group on paper, the club will struggle to match up against top offensive attacks with this lackluster pass rushing unit. So there it goes. Here's where the step back thing is coming from. Washington lost his 2025 sack leader Dante Fowler in free agency. The Commanders will need more than Dorrance Armstrong Jr. and Dietrich Wise to collapse the pocket on the edges. Frankie Louvo and Deron Payne must be active near the line of scrimmage on passing downs. But I do want to push back on that slightly. Yes, I would love to get a premier pass rusher. You know, you can trade for Trey Hendrickson, sign Von Miller, whatever you got to do. You know what I'm saying? I do want some additional pass rush help, but at the same time, Dante Fowler had like 4.5, 5 sacks with the Cowboys in 2023. He came to the Commanders and then had 10.5. I feel like that's more so the scheme and the defense around him as a unit, more so than Dante Fowler as the individual. So I know a lot of people are saying, well, the Commanders pass rusher already wasn't that great, and then a 10.5 sack guy and Dante Fowler just left in free agency. But I feel like it was more so the system and the scheme than it was Dante Fowler. So Jacob Martin, similar to Dante Fowler in 2023, Jacob Martin had around 4.5, 5 sacks for the Bears last year. We brought him over to be a situational pass rusher, just like we did with Dante Fowler last year. Maybe him stepping into the same scheme can result in the double-digit sack season for him. And then you also have Dietrich Wise, who you added as well. So I think our pass rush will honestly be even a little bit better than it was last year. Not great. I'm still in the group of people. I'm still in the same boat that, yes, go get a premier pass rusher, please. I would have loved to have got one in the draft, but I love the fact that we got Josh Connolly in the picks that we did end up getting. So, hey, Trey Hendrickson, Von Miller, whatever. I'm still in that boat of, yes, go make a move to do that. But at the same time, it's not as bad as what people think if we don't do that, because our pass rush was already pretty good last year. And again, I think it's more the system than the individual in Dante Fowler. And on top of that, our run defense is going to be way better with all of the additions that we brought in through free agency, with all of the veteran signings that we made and things like that. So we're going to be in way less 3rd and 1s, 3rd and 2s. We'll be in more 3rd and 7s or 3rd and 10s, 3rd and 12s and things like that, which will allow our edge rushers to pin their ears back on 3rd down more often to go after the quarterback rather than having to, stay balanced, which, if you're not committing to one or the other, you're never going to be truly consistent or elite or dominant at one or the other. So since they're having to stay, 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3 and have to worry about the run when a team does pass the ball, they're not ready to get after that quarterback as quickly as possible. I think with our far better run defense that we're set up to have in 2025, we'll be in more situations for our pass rushers to have more consistent success. We may not necessarily have a double-digit sack guy, but I would not be surprised if our team has more sacks in 2025 than they did in 2024. And then finishing up with Bleacher Report, they said, keep in mind that the Commanders played a 4th place team schedule last season, which is, hey, honestly good point right there. But at the same time, we have the easiest schedule out of the division. But they said this year Washington will face 7 postseason teams from the previous term: the Packers, Chiefs, Chargers, Broncos, Lions, Vikings, and Eagles twice, of course. In 2025, the Commanders will have a difficult pathway to the playoffs, but they will remain in the mix with another double-digit win campaign. They're predicting us to go 10-7. But at the same time, nobody predicted us to win 12 games last year, so what does anybody know? Now moving on to the last third of this video. According to Jeremy Fowler, the Commanders have been named as a potential suitor for trading for Dolphins cornerback Jalen Ramsey. And I know a lot of y'all are saying, again? Ramsey, of course, is 30 years old, multi-time Pro Bowler, All-Pro, and all of that type of stuff. He's not that old now. He may not necessarily be who he used to be, but he's not as old as a lot of people act like. The way some people talk about him, it seems like he's like 35. He's still 30. And he's set to make a base salary of $1.3 million this season, but the number increases to $10 million in 2026 and the 2027 season, and 2021 $0.1 million in 2028. So he just starts to become more and more expensive. But right now in 2025, he's barely anywhat of a cap hit. Only $1.3 million worth of base salary is interesting. But this original thing, all of this situation that we're even discussing it, the reason we're even talking about it right now is because ESPN's Jeremy Fowler reported that the Dolphins have engaged in trade talks with multiple teams, and technically nothing is imminent right now, so pay attention to that. But he listed the LA Rams, the Dallas Cowboys, and the Washington Commanders as the 3 most likely suitors. And then shouts out the Commanders Wire, because I completely agree. They wrote an article on this, and they even titled it by saying, it seems like the Washington Commanders are named as a potential suitor for every available veteran out there. And I completely agree, man. I mean, we really are. But at the same time, Jalen Ramsey's a little different, because he's been coming up multiple times now. Like, he's been coming up the most by far compared to any other veteran that we've been attached to. I mean, I guess the only person that outpaces him is Trey Hendrickson, just because of how big of a need we have and how disgruntled he was with the Bengals. But Jalen Ramsey's come up more often than Tyreek Hill has, being connected to us. Jalen Ramsey's come up more often than even us just going to go sign Von Miller or Zadarius Smith in free agency, or even J.K. Dobbins as a running back. Seems like every 2 to 3 weeks, Jalen Ramsey to the Commanders gets brought up by somebody. It's a new person every time, too. This is just coming from the same person just staying on it and on it. It's a new person linking the Commanders to Jalen Ramsey every couple of weeks. And the first time this happened, it was a trustworthy source saying that the Commanders at the very least talked to the Dolphins about Jalen Ramsey. Nothing imminent or serious, but at least checking in and doing their due diligence, which is what the Commanders front office is always supposed to do. At least call to see what's up. That doesn't at all mean that it will happen or it's even likely to happen for the Commanders to trade for him. But just like with all of these rumors that get thrown out there about the Commanders, I'm personally, me as in Rico of StreetScores, is here to talk about whether we should or should not make the trade or sign the veteran free agency guy, whatever. J.K. Dobbins, Von Miller, all of that type of stuff. I'm not really here to dive into how legitimate this source is. Should we trust it and things like that? I'm here to say, if this is true, should the Commanders do it? Why or why not? That's my whole purpose of talking about all of these random rumors that get thrown out there. And also, of course, with talking about this every 2 to 3 weeks, I've already given my thoughts on this. And basically, I feel like Jay Daniels MVP wraps it up pretty nicely. I agree. He said, I personally believe that we have checked in on this situation. I definitely agree with that, but don't have any serious plans on actually trading more assets for another corner. Mind you, after the Laramie Tunsil trade, we only have 5 draft picks in this upcoming 2026 draft. Already told y'all what we had to give up to get him earlier in the video. He also said, I'd be shell-shocked if this move happens, considering the way Adam Peters talks highly of Lattimore and that we just drafted a corner. I completely agree. Adam Peters, every chance he gets, he's asked about Marshawn Lattimore, he hypes him up. He definitely boosts him up and gives the excuses that the guy wasn't fully healthy, and he also never had a good enough amount of time to really learn the defense and get comfortable in the defense and gain chemistry with the DBs around him and things like that. And basically, Adam Peters is really excited about Marshawn Lattimore's potential in the 2025 season because he feels like he was basically given a bad hand last year, and this time around he's gonna ball out. And then on top of that, yes, we did just draft Trey Amos in the 2nd round. I mean, we've invested significantly in the cornerback position just recently. I mean, we already are missing 2 draft picks in the 2026 draft, and we technically can afford Ramsey's salary for sure, but we already have Marshawn Lattimore potentially starting on the outside, Sanford still starting in the slot, Jonathan Jones will be like that 4th corner that rotates in, but more so a slot corner, Noah Benogany also more so a slot corner, but elite depth as a slot corner, and then you just drafted Trey Amos in the 2nd round, who's going to be your other starting outside corner. You use a 2nd round pick on that guy, you give a draft pick for Marshawn Lattimore, draft picks for Marshawn Lattimore, and then one of those guys has to get benched for Jalen Ramsey. I just don't see that happening. I don't think that trade really has any chance of happening unless he's just going for free. Unless the Dolphins say, the Commanders and only Commanders, we're giving you this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to trade for Jalen Ramsey for a 7th round pick. Everybody else has to give up way more value. Only for y'all, we'll give them up for a 7th round pick for what Dan Quinn did for Mike McDaniels when he used to be struggling and things like that. So shouts out to Dan Quinn for that. They just for some reason give us an extreme discount for who knows what. That's the only way I can see it happening. We only have to give up a 7th round pick or something like that. Other than that, I don't see it happening, which to me, I feel like there's like a 1% chance, maybe even less than that this happens. But again, I'm always here to just talk about, if there's a rumor out there, we're here to either shut it down or be like, okay, here I'm out. You know what I'm saying? This is one of those shut that down, swat it out of the air. we really need to, the people need to stop linking us to him, because I just don't really see it. I don't get it at all. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know about everything discussed in the video. Please still follow that like button, still follow the subscription button, still follow the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Of course, let me know in the comment section how you feel about everything discussed in the video. And as promised, the answer to your trivia question is Sammy Ball, the quarterback who doubled as a safety on defense. That's elite stuff right there. I could have guessed that. If like I had a timer and I wasn't so focused on what I was talking about in this video, if I would have really sat down and thought about it, I would have said Sammy Ball. That would have been my best guess. I wouldn't have known for sure, but that would have been my best guess. But of course, shouts out to all of y'all that already knew that before I gave y'all the answer without having to Google it. That's a big salute to y'all, man. But make sure you leave a like on the way out. And of course, let me know how you feel about everything discussed in the video. First of all, how do you feel about the fact that the NFL added a Protector of the Year award? Are y'all as excited as I am and feel like this should have been happened? Also, how do you feel about experts out there thinking that Larry Tunsil is going to be one of the top candidates for this award? It feels like he's the 4th best offensive lineman in all of football right now. Also, let me know how you feel about the AI predicting the Washington Commanders 2025 season, us being #1 seed, and how everybody feels about us. Bleacher Report feeling like we're going to take a step back, the betting lines having us winning favored in 10 games and things like that, and the, Cynthia Freeland of Around the NFL picking us as the 2nd best team in the entire conference. Let me know how you feel about all of that. And of course, let me know how you feel about this whole Jalen Ramsey situation. Do you agree with me that it's not going to happen? At the very least, very unlikely to happen. But also, do you agree with me with the fact that you think that the Commanders at least called to see what's up, but it's just not going to happen? So let me know how y'all feel about all of that. And of course, make sure you leave a like on the way out. Again, I really appreciate y'all. Stay tuned for more content. I'm going to catch y'all later. Appreciate y'all. I'm out.